In the year of our despair, the city of Beverly Hills, once resplendent with wealth and human indulgence, had become a ruin of vacuous automatons. The transformation was slow at first, barely noticed by those wrapped in their socialites' dreams and the balmy artificiality of Southern California's sun. But those who retained their senses, those still capable of perceiving the cold undercurrent of wrongness, began to whisper of something ancient, something from the very bowels of existence that had infiltrated the city. And at the heart of this descent into an eerie, otherworldly conformity was the parasitic alien virus, a contagion so insidious, so vile, that its very presence warped the minds of all who dared to remain. I, Mateo Vargas, was one of the few who had seen the transformation unfold. My friends, Jeremy, JoJo, and Mary, and I had always thought ourselves immune to the pretentiousness of Beverly Hills. We mocked the endless parade of cosmetic surgeries and ostentatious wealth that defined the city, feeling like outsiders even while living in its glittering heart. Yet even we, bound by the arrogance of youth, could never have predicted how quickly the nightmare would seize our world. It was late one night when Jeremy first noticed the change in his father. We were lounging by the pool in Jeremy's sprawling backyard, bathed in the artificial glow of underwater lights. The smell of chlorine mixed with the distant, dry scent of the desert wind, and the sky above us was a canvas of stars, as unfamiliar and indifferent as they always were in this gilded wasteland. "My dad's been weird lately," Jeremy muttered, staring into the water. "Like, more robotic than usual." "More robotic?" JoJo smirked, flicking her cigarette into the pool. "Is that even possible?" Jeremy, usually quick to join in the banter, was silent, his brow furrowed in an expression I'd never seen on his face before. "I mean it," he said, more seriously this time. "He's been off, like he's there, but not really there, talking in this monotone voice, like he's reading from a script. And his eyes." "What about his eyes?" Mary asked, her voice tight with curiosity and fear. "They're hollow, like completely devoid of anything. It's like he's not even him anymore. And it's not just him. I've seen it in others too. At the grocery store, in the neighborhood. Something's happening." We laughed it off then, dismissing it as stress or exhaustion. Beverly Hills was a soulless place at the best of times, after all. But over the next few days, I couldn't shake the growing sense of unease. People were changing, and it was impossible to ignore. They still looked the same, but their mannerisms were off. Too rigid, too controlled. Their conversations were stiff, mechanical. The once vibrant human landscape of Beverly Hills was becoming a sea of blank, expressionless faces. The reality of our predicament hit us fully the following week, when Jeremy's father, whom we now viewed with thinly veiled suspicion, disappeared entirely. His car was still in the driveway, but he was gone. No one spoke of it. Not Jeremy's mom, not the neighbors. It was as if his existence had been erased without a trace. In the days that followed, others began to vanish too. Our parents, teachers, even the local police officers. One by one, they were consumed by whatever alien force had gripped the city. Beverly Hills had become a haven of walking shells, their souls leached from their bodies by an unseen, malevolent presence. It was JoJo who first suggested that we try to escape. The air had grown thick with an oppressive, suffocating dread, as though the very atmosphere of the city had become tainted by the alien infection. We felt it in our bones, an eerie pulse that throbbed beneath the surface of every conversation, every interaction. The stilted, dissonant rhythm of speech, the slow erosion of natural human behavior. Something was terribly, monstrously wrong. "They're drones," JoJo whispered one night, her voice shaking as we gathered in the basement of Jeremy's mansion. "I don't know how to explain it, but they're not real anymore. Whatever's controlling them, it's making them hollow." Mary, always the skeptic, scoffed at the idea. "Come on, JoJo. Drones? Like robots? What, you think the aliens from Invasion of the Body Snatchers are real now?" JoJo fixed her with a hard stare. "I'm serious, Mary. This isn't some stupid sci-fi movie. Look around. Haven't you noticed it? We're the only ones left who still feel alive." Jeremy nodded solemnly. "I don't know if it's aliens, but something is infecting people. My dad was one of the first. I could tell something had taken over him before he vanished." My own experiences echoed theirs. I had seen the signs too, my mother's increasingly strange behavior, her emotionless gaze that never quite focused on anything, her once vibrant personality replaced by a cold mechanical routine. There was no doubt about it anymore. The virus, if that's what it truly was, had wormed its way into every corner of Beverly Hills, transforming the people we loved into hollow, mindless puppets. We resolved to escape, though we knew it wouldn't be easy. The streets were patrolled by the infected, drone-like beings who moved with a purpose that was terrifyingly unnatural. And yet there was something in their gait, in their almost human expressions, that suggested they were waiting for something, or someone. We had to plan carefully. The virus was spreading fast, and any misstep would mean succumbing to its insidious grasp. We began preparing supplies, stashing food, and stockpiling water, all while trying to maintain the facade that we were unaffected. But the virus, it seemed, was smarter than we had anticipated. It was learning, adapting. And soon it became clear that it wasn't content to merely convert the residents of Beverly Hills. It wanted us. The night we decided to make our escape was unnaturally quiet. The oppressive heat of the day had faded into a suffocating stillness, the air thick with the scent of decay. We crept through the darkened streets, avoiding the gaze of the infected as they wandered aimlessly in the shadows. There was no moon, only the faint, sickly glow of distant streetlights flickering in the mist. Jeremy led the way, his flashlight flickering erratically as we moved through the labyrinth of once opulent homes and empty, lifeless mansions. Mary was behind him, clutching a baseball bat she had swiped from her brother's room. JoJo and I brought up the rear, our nerves stretched taut as we listened for any signs of pursuit. We were almost to the edge of the city when we heard it, the unmistakable sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, echoing through the night. My heart pounded in my chest as I turned to see them. A group of the infected, moving in unison, their hollow eyes fixed on us with an unnatural intensity. "They found us!" Mary hissed, gripping her bat tighter. We bolted. My legs screamed with exhaustion as we tore through the streets, dodging past abandoned cars and overgrown lawns. The infected were close behind, their footsteps unnervingly steady, relentless. But it wasn't their speed that frightened me. It was their silence. Not a single one of them made a sound as they pursued us. No shouts, no grunts of effort, just the eerie, rhythmic thud of their footsteps as they closed in. Finally, we reached the outskirts of the city. Beyond the last row of houses lay the desert, vast and empty, stretching out into the blackness of night. We could escape. We had made it. But then, as we prepared to sprint into the wilderness, Jeremy stumbled. I heard his strangled cry as he hit the ground, his flashlight skidding out of his hand. Before I could react, they were upon him, the infected, their cold, blank faces looming over his prone body. "Go!" Jeremy shouted, his voice hoarse with fear. "Don't stop! Just run!" But I couldn't leave him. I couldn't just abandon my best friend to whatever horror awaited him in the clutches of those things. I turned back, ready to fight, ready to do whatever it took to save him. But then I saw it. Something I will never forget. As the infected closed in around Jeremy, their eyes glowed faintly with an otherworldly light, as if they were communicating, sharing some terrible alien knowledge. And in that moment, Jeremy's expression changed. The fear faded, replaced by something far more chilling, acceptance. "No," I whispered, my heart sinking. "No, Jeremy, don't let them take you." But it was too late. His body went limp, his eyes dull and lifeless. The transformation was complete. JoJo grabbed my arm, pulling me away. "We have to go," she shouted. "We can't save him." I hesitated for a moment, torn between loyalty and survival. But in the end, I knew JoJo was right. There was no saving Jeremy. Whatever he had become, it wasn't him anymore. We ran into the desert, leaving behind the infected, leaving behind the city that had once been our home. Beverly Hills was lost, consumed by the alien virus that had twisted its people into soulless drones, and though we had escaped, I knew the infection was spreading,